How did bodybuilding appear? Who was the first bodybuilder? When was the first Mr. Olympia contest held, and who won it? You will find answers to these and many other questions in our video, which is dedicated to the history of bodybuilding. The development of bodybuilding dates back to ancient Greece and the Roman Empire, which has been repeatedly confirmed by historical facts and archaeological research. The Greek athlete Milo of Croton, who lived around 520 BC, was a six-time Olympic champion in freestyle wrestling. Many historians of athletics call him the forefather of modern weight training. However, Eugen Sandow is considered the father of modern bodybuilding. He lived in the late 19th and early 20th centuries and was one of the strongest people on the planet. On September 14, 1901, Sandow held the first ever bodybuilding contest in London, called the Great Competition, the winner of which was the Englishman William L. Murray. The first large-scale bodybuilding competition in the United States of America was held only in 1904. The winner of the competition was Al Treloar. The next name we should mention is Charles Atlas. He won such titles as the most handsome man in the world and the most perfect man in the world at competitions in 1921 and 1922, respectively. In 1924, he began to publish his own training program, sending it out by mail. Bodybuilding developed rapidly, was increasingly advertised, and new competitions began to appear for athletes. On July 4, 1939, the first bodybuilding competition called Mr. America was held, the winner of which was Burt Goodrich. And the following year, the winner of this competition was John Grimek, who conquered everyone with his forms, grace, and plasticity. In 1945, Clancy Ross won the Mr. America competition. Many consider him to be the first modern bodybuilder. The Mr. Universe contest was organized in 1948. After winning the Mr. America and Mr. Universe contests, Steve Reeves was considered the greatest bodybuilder of all time. An athlete like Reg Park repeatedly won the Mr. Universe title. In the 60s, he starred in 4 films as Hercules and later became an idol and mentor of Arnold Schwarzenegger. In 1946, Joe Weider organized the Mr. Olympia contest, which would later become the main one. The winner of the 1946 Mr. Olympia contest was Larry Scott. He also received this title the following year. Larry Scott tried and rejected many methods of pumping up his arms until he developed a machine known to everyone as the Scott bench. The athlete himself called his invention a music stand. In 67, 68, and 69, bodybuilder Sergio Oliva sat on the throne of Mr. Olympia. And in 1970, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who earned the nickname the Austrian Oak, dethroned Sergio. Arnold held the Mr. Olympia title until 75, but then suddenly decided to take a break. After a 5-year break in 1980, the bodybuilder decided to compete again and won the Mr. Olympia contest for the 7th time. Schwarzenegger's charisma, determination, and hard work formed the basis of the documentary film Pumping Iron, which was released in 1977. In 1988, he organized his own contest, the Arnold Classic. In the 70s, the popularity of bodybuilding grew significantly. The names of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, Dave Draper, Franco Columbu, Tom Platz, Mike Monser, and others became famous not only in America, but also abroad. After the victory of Chris Dickerson in Olympia in 1982 and Samir Banu in 1983, Lee Haney appeared on the horizon, who personified the ideal combination of proportions and mass. Lee Haney became an 8-time winner of the Mr. Olympia title. Other famous bodybuilders of the 80s were Lee Labrada, Vince Taylor, Sean Ray, and Rich Gaspari. Lee Haney ended the era of aesthetic bodybuilding, and it was replaced by the era of monsters of mass, which was opened by Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates won 6 Mr. Olympia titles in a row from 1992 to 1997, setting a new standard of mass at 120 kilograms. In 1998, the Mr. Olympia competition was won by Ronnie Coleman, who amazed the judges with his enormous mass and at the same time excellent muscle detail. Having set new standards in bodybuilding, Coleman competed in the weight of 130 kilograms. He won the Sandow statuette 8 times in a row and earned the nickname the greatest of all time. Coleman would have been happy to receive the Mr. Olympia title for the 9th time, but athlete Jay Cutler prevented this. Cutler won the Olympia in 2006, 2007, 2009, and 2010, giving up the throne for a while to Dexter Jackson in 2008. From 2011 to 2017, Phil Heath, mentored by Jay Cutler, held the crown at the main bodybuilding competition. In 2018, Sean Roden unexpectedly became Mr. Olympia, showing off his amazing shape at 42 years old. The 2019 Mr. Olympia competition was won by bodybuilder Brandon Curry, and everyone is eagerly awaiting what will happen in 2020, which was opened by Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates won 6 Mr. Olympia titles in a row from 19.
From 1992 to 1997, setting a new benchmark of 120 kilograms. In 1998, Ronnie Coleman won the Mr. Olympia contest, astounding the judges with his enormous mass and at the same time, excellent muscle detail. Setting new standards in bodybuilding, Coleman competed at 130 kilograms. He won the Sandow statuette 8 times in a row and earned the nickname the greatest of all time. Coleman would have been happy to receive the Mr. Olympia title for the 9th time, but athlete Jay Cutler prevented this. Cutler won the Olympia in 2006, 2007, 2009, and 2010, giving up the throne for a while to Dexter Jackson in 2008. From 2011 to 2017, Phil Heath, mentored by Jay Cutler, held the crown at the main bodybuilding competition. In 2018, Sean Roden unexpectedly became Mr. Olympia, showing off his amazing shape at 42 years old. The 2019 Mr. Olympia competition was won by bodybuilder Brandon Curry, and everyone is eagerly awaiting what will happen in 2020.
The 1970s are often referred to as the golden era of bodybuilding. During this period, bodybuilding became increasingly popular, largely due to the rise of iconic figures like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, and Lou Ferrigno. Arnold Schwarzenegger became the face of bodybuilding during this era, winning Mr. Olympia 7 times, 1970 to 1975, 1980, and using his fame to push bodybuilding into mainstream culture. His victory in the 1975 Mr. Olympia competition, following a famous rivalry with Serge Nubret and others, helped cement his place in the history of the sport. The Mr. Olympia competition continued to be the pinnacle of bodybuilding success, and the competition evolved during the 1970s. While the early years of Olympia were dominated by competitors like Larry Scott, by the 1970s, it had become an international spectacle. Bodybuilding culture during this time was heavily influenced by Hollywood. Schwarzenegger, Ferrigno, and others crossed over into film, increasing the visibility of the sport. Schwarzenegger's appearance in the 1977 documentary Pumping Iron further popularized bodybuilding. Nutritional developments and advancements in exercise science led to an increased focus on supplementation, training regimens, and diet. The late 70s saw the beginning of professional bodybuilding as a lucrative career, with some athletes earning endorsement deals and sponsorships .198 The expansion and growth of bodybuilding. The 1980s saw bodybuilding shift into the mainstream. While Arnold Schwarzenegger had moved on to acting, other key figures like Lee Haney, Frank Zane, and later Dorian Yates began to dominate the scene. Lee Haney won Mr. Olympia 8 times, 1984 to 1991, establishing his own legacy as one of the most successful bodybuilders of the era. Development of supplements. With the rise of bodybuilding, nutritional supplements, such as protein powders, amino acids, and other ergogenic aids, became widely used, and companies like Wider, EAS, and MuscleTech flourished during the decade. 1990s. The rise of mass monsters and enhanced performance. Dorian Yates ushered in a new era with his 6 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles from 1992 to 1997. The 2000s continued the trend of mass monsters, with size being more emphasized than ever before. Ronnie Coleman became the dominant figure of thousands, winning Mr. Olympia 8 times in a row, 2000 to 2005. he epitomized the larger-than-life physiques that characterized the era. His size, conditioning, and strength were legendary. Phil Heath and Jay Cutler emerged as major competitors. Jay Cutler, in particular, became a major rival to Ronnie Coleman, eventually dethroning him to win Mr. Olympia in 2006, 2007, and 2009. The 2010s saw bodybuilding continue its evolution, with athletes focusing on aesthetics, symmetry, and size, while using increasingly advanced technology and nutrition. Phil Heath dominated Mr. Olympia for much of the decade, winning 7 titles from 2011-2017. The 2020s marked the continuation of bodybuilding's legacy.
Bodybuilding has undergone significant changes from the 1970s to today. From the golden era, where athletes focused on aesthetics, symmetry, and proportion, to the rise of massive physiques in the 1990s and 2000s, and into the more modern era, where social media and new competitions like classic physique have given the sport a fresh perspective, bodybuilding continues to evolve. The sport's growth, alongside improvements in training, diet, and health awareness, has made bodybuilding a major influence in both fitness culture and popular culture worldwide. Big Ramy Mamdou Elspieh won the 2020 Mr. Olympia, taking home the title for his sheer size and conditioning. His win was one of the most talked about in recent years, as he became the first Egyptian bodybuilder to win the prestigious title. Nick Walker, Brandon Curry, and Hadi Choopan all emerged as top competitors, providing fierce competition for the Mr. Olympia crown. Social media and fitness influence. Bodybuilding influencers and athletes, including figures like Larry Wheels, Chris Bumstead, who won Classic Physique Olympia multiple times, and Brett Wilkin, use platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok to promote their training regimens and diets, helping to expand the sport's reach and visibility among younger audiences. Health and longevity. With the rise of mental health awareness, there's an increasing focus on improving the health and longevity of bodybuilders, as PEDs and extreme training regimens often come with significant health risks. Some top athletes and influencers are using platforms to discuss safer approaches to bodybuilding. The lifestyle of modern bodybuilding has evolved significantly over the years, influenced by advances in training methods, nutrition, supplementation, and social media. Today's bodybuilders lead a disciplined, highly structured life that revolves around several core pillars: intense training, strict nutrition, recovery, and mental fortitude. Here's an overview of the modern bodybuilding lifestyle. 1. Training. 2. Nutrition. 3. Recovery. 4. Mental and emotional fortitude. 5. Competitions and sponsorships. Health considerations and longevity.